How you doing, folks? Well, it is 8:30 in the morning and I am heading over to Autobay in Drogheda to meet a guy who apparently knows VW diesels very well and a lot better than me. And hopefully we're going to get to the bottom of the running issue today. We're going to be putting it on a dyno and finding out exactly how much power it is making, and seeing what we can do about it then as well too. I am, just for those of you who haven't watched any of the videos up until this point, basically Volkswagen T25 van, TDI engine conversion completed recently by myself, and it is not performing well. So basically I'm finding I'm doing 30 miles to the gallon and I do not have the performance to match 30 miles to the gallon. Yeah, I'm estimating that there's probably about 80 horsepower coming from that engine. Have a guess yourself and see what you think, and I'll come back to you once we've got it on the dyno. Okay, so where are we at now? We gave the engine a dyno run, obviously, as you saw, and it was coming in at around 90 horsepower, which is what the AHU engine should be putting out with the stock map and no modifications whatsoever. So that's a good baseline setting to start from, but I'm not happy with that. I increased the fueling to the maximum position for the that the VCDS would allow, and still the injection quantity was very low. So what we've done is we've done the hammer mod. So now what we're going to do is we're going to give it a dyno run now and see what we're getting out of it, and see if I don't get poisoned in a haze of black smoke, because I don't want that either. But yeah, so far we're making progress. I'm not entirely happy that the engine wasn't actually putting out that much power, or wasn't down that much on power. But at least, as I said, we have a good baseline setting. So let's see how we're looking. Okay, let's see how we get on now. Manageable amount of smoke. Not too bad. I said it's not smoking too badly actually. Okay, so decreasing, or doing the hammer mod now at this point in time actually decreased the fueling on the engine, and then actually we were down on power quite a bit this time. So we need to start having a bit of a fiddle with it here. And so we've put things back the other direction now a little bit, and we're gonna do another run on the dyno and see if we're anyway close. It's saying it's 9 milligrams per stroke, but let's see what happens. Let's have a look at the screen. Okay, so definitely there's big increases here anyway, just having done the hammer mod and gone through everything on the VCDS. So I have an extra 26.6 foot-pounds of torque, and it's about 5 or 6 horsepower, but to be honest with you, I'm not so much bothered about the horsepower. It's more the torque that I'm actually interested in here, especially pulling around a heavy van. So definitely it's going to make the van an awful lot more drivable now, actually having this power. So what we're going to do is we're going to give it another run now, and we're going to make sure that the turbo is not roasting the arse off itself, because there's no point in having this extra power and finding that the turbo, the extra EGT of burning the extra fuel is going to cause the turbo to burn out, because ain't nobody got time for that. The cooling fans are noisier than the van. More again. So that's your flywheel horsepower, or that's your wheel horsepower, and that's your flywheel horsepower. So 96.7 with a torque figure of 155 foot-pounds. That should make it a very nice yoke to drive. So I'm looking forward to taking it out for a spin now after all this and seeing how we get on. By the way, I cannot recommend Barry in Autobay highly enough. The amount of time and effort he's put into this with me is absolutely amazing. Like, you just don't get guys to do that too much. Okay folks, I'm on the way home and I am a happy man because the van is driving absolutely beautifully. It's got the power it needs. That extra torque has made such a difference to how it performs and just drivability. I'm not having to bury the throttle all the time. I am just the only thing is that on idle it's a little bit lumpy at times, but to be honest with you, I'd live with it. And the thing about it is that now I'm in 5th gear at 60k, and it just, you know, I'm only having to touch the accelerator to keep it moving. Whereas before, driving it, I had to bury the accelerator all the time to keep it moving. It just, you know, the engine wasn't powerful enough for the van it was in, whereas now it is. And what I'll do is I may have a look in the future at getting the ECU remapped and try and get that 110 horsepower map put onto it. Yeah, so there should be a bit more to it there. I suppose I was a little bit disappointed when I saw on the dyno that it was actually producing the 90 horsepower there or thereabouts. So I was kind of thinking to myself, right, okay, so there's nothing wrong with the engine, and I should be happy about that, you know, insofar as the engine's actually in good order, and that's great, but it means it's just slow. So now we have to look at alternatives. So we tried the hammer mod, and it took an awful lot of faffing around. It is nowhere near as easy as people make out on the forums and stuff like that. And if you are going to do the hammer mod, proceed with caution. That's what I will tell you, because there be monsters, and it's very easy to make it go the opposite way. Because when we did it first, we lost a lot of power. But I wouldn't, otherwise I would have had to just go by seat of the pants and take it out for a drive after doing it, and that would have been an awful pain in the face. But now we know that I'm up near 100 horsepower. I've got an extra, I think it was 26 foot-pounds of torque, and you can feel every one of those foot-pounds. And and the turbo is not cooking itself either, so the turbo is not over boosting. It's spot on. So we're great. We're in good order there. But the other thing as well we now know is the fact that the engine conversion, the engine's happy and everything's working the way it should. But what I will say at this point in time as well too, Barry, thank you so much for giving me a hand today. Barry and Autobay in Drogheda in Ireland. I cannot recommend them highly enough. If you've got a VW engine that's having problems, or that you want to get a bit more power out of, the first person you need to go and speak to. He's just such a nice guy, spent so much time with me today, and just, put in the effort, and I'm reaping the rewards. And I have to say, it was very reasonably priced as well too. It was money well spent now today. So I'm a really, really happy man now. So I got to bring it home, and I will talk you through the run sheet I got from the dyno, and yeah, I will leave it at that. So okay, so I'm home safe and sound now anyway, and this is obviously the dyno graph. Certainly not something you see too often as a dyno sheet for a 1987 VW camper, but nonetheless that's exactly what this is. So you'll see now the blue line is where we started, and the grey line is what we ended up with. So the blue line, this line here is the horsepower, and this line is the torque. So the maximum torque really is occurring at about 2,250, which is really where you want it on something like this. And we are up quite significantly on the maximum torque figure. So these are the maximums here now. So we start out with 160 foot-pounds, and we're up to 188. So that's 28 foot-pounds of torque increase on that. And here is our horsepower reading. So we're just shy of the 100 horsepower mark, which coincidentally enough is actually pretty much exactly what I was getting for the 1914 Beetle engine that I had before I reworked it. So yeah, there you go now. Yeah, definitely a hell of a lot more torque. But yeah, it's to be honest with you, it is an awful lot better to drive, and it does definitely make a difference. The only concern I have now is the fact that it doesn't idle as cleanly as it used to. To be honest with you, I think that's going to be just something I'll have to live with. But the smoke as well too, there's a little bit more smoke, but really that's under full acceleration. And again, I think, to be honest with you, I'm just going to have to live with that. Beyond that, I'm into kind of remapping the ECU and all that as well too, which may be on the cards. I may well think about that in the future. I'm just going to have to live with it for a little while and see. But it was good to know though that the engine was actually in good order before we even started. If, to be honest with you, it turned out like the engine had low compression or something, I would have had to have reevaluated the situation. So anyway, I'm going to leave it at that for the moment, and hopefully this will be the end of it, and I will be able to live with it the way it is now. Certainly it was a much better machine to drive back, and unfortunately I got stuck behind every bleeding slow driver in Meath, but such is life. Anyway, yeah, I kind of would have liked to have gotten into fifth gear a bit more, but yeah. Anyway, look, we'll know in the fullness of time. But look, thanks for watching, folks, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in a future video.